entered my information and they contacted me. Over the internet, which wasn't something I'd ever done before, but it worked out real well. I was scrolling through Facebook and I found this ad by the Metal Roof Consortium. So I entered my information and they contacted me. After I answered the Metal Roof Consortium's ad, they explained to me that they didn't even
misma, por esa misma vez sola.
Ne avevate già visto uno voi? Ne avevate già visto uno?
Yeah, go do that now. I'd rather do a regular roller coaster first.
moi aussi, c'est mignon.
Yeah, but could fit.
Ven, Adrián.